to get some people rolling into here because it usually takes about 3 or 4 minutes for them to roll in. But interesting market so far today. We're moving some. OSB seems to be the soup du jour on the platform this morning. We've got a bunch of retailers that are looking at moving some of theirs off, and it's starting to really peel off on price, but it's getting some good price discovery.
Well, I saw midweek print was actually up on OSB, and which I found I found interesting. I saw some comment somewhere. I mean, I don't trade OSB, so I don't know, but somebody made a comment that OSB had bottomed out.
Well, I know it traded at a significant discount to what print is from some people, right? So who knows? Bottomed out is a tough one to figure out, right?
Well, I'm just saying midweek print was up from Friday.
So, yeah, right on.
I mean, that's technically, I mean, after falling for, I mean, that only fell, if lumber's been down 13 weeks, I mean, that only fell like, what, 5-6 weeks?
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad to have Matt back in the house, and we've got the full crew back together now. Welcome to Materials Exchange MX Network with Matt Beamer and Greg Riley. We're going to talk about This Week in Lumber. What we're going to talk about today, a little bit about housing information that came out. Then we're going to go over the poll Greg put out on LinkedIn because those have been great at kind of figuring out maybe the psychology of the market. Then we'll talk about basis, the market, and then follow up with Greg and Matt on some thoughts. But kind of going into this week, Matt and Greg, what were your expectations from last week of what you thought, what happened, any insight to what's going on just in the market in general? We'll start out there.
Well, I'll go just because I've been out. So I'll tell you what's happened in the last 2 weeks since I've been out is the market's gone down about $100 on pretty much everything. So, I mean, imagine my surprise when I dial in my email yesterday and start looking at some of the numbers that are being thrown around for, things that I know something about. And I think a lot of it is driven by what's happening in the West. I mean, I see at our mills, and it's not just my company, it's all Western sawmills. There just is a lot of inventory, and the mills haven't been able to sell enough volume to keep up with their production. And so now they're having to decide to shut down because they don't have space to store things, right? That's what's driving shutdowns now. And at the same time, we're starting to see some improvement finally in the home center retail business. And I think that also the treaters are starting to nibble back into the market, which those are good things. And those are things that'll help. If you can imagine a market where demand is increasing and supply is decreasing, maybe by the time we have this conversation again in 4 weeks, we'll be talking about better market conditions rather than worse market conditions. But over the last 2 weeks, the market has gotten worse for lumber.
Yeah, right. Greg, I'll go over to you. And I see you have the Materials Exchange platform open in the background, highlighting it, which is absolutely awesome.
I'm looking for some bids, though. I didn't see any bids.
Yeah, we'll get you. We'll get you some. We'll get off the OSB and get onto some Euro spruce in a bit here.
There you go.
Cheers, Matt.
Housing data this week, we had both new and existing home sales come out. Both of the numbers were increases. The first increase in those numbers in 4 months. So existing home sales were at a pace of 5.99 million units, which is for year to date this year. Existing home sales are up 1.5% versus last year, first 6 months. Average 17 days on the market, and so we're up July this year versus July last year, up 17.8%. New home sales, same thing, up, the first time in 4 months. That rate is like 700,000 units. And year to date, we're up 6.9%. If you see that chart, you can see the big spike up. That's last summer, right? That's last July, and you can see how we went so much above like kind of what the trend was, and now we've adjusted back to the trend, and we're kind of on that high end of that trend. I'm going to estimate that those new home sales are going to bounce around at it with a slightly better rate as we move forward here, as more inventory is available.
Hold that thought 1 second here, Greg.
Yeah.
We're just bringing something else up here.
Thought